Hi, my name is Maddie. I'm a music teacher and a performing musician, and I'm really excited to come onto this podcast to talk about how music has helped myself and others overcome challenges in their life.
Hey, Maddie. Thank you for joining me on this podcast. Very
Hi.
happy to have you here with us. Really interested in your journey with music. So, what I'd like to do, Maddie, is just start with the beginning, really. How did you get into music and what kind of area of music is it that's actually had an impact on your life?
So, I started music quite later than others. So I started playing the clarinet when I was about 11 years old. But I did a little fun thing on a recorder in a club when I was quite young. So the let's call it proper music started when I was about 11 years old. I just had lessons at school for about 20 minutes, 1 day a week. And I eventually started going to um, music groups and bands when I was about um, 12, 13. And that's really when I feel like my music journey kind of developed and formed into something that I have today.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think, for a large proportion of us that, go to school here in the UK, I think recorder is a standard, right?
I think a lot of kids actually learn the recorder like at school now. So when I've done some classroom teaching and we are encouraged to teach the kids how to play musical instruments, and recorder is one of those first that they end up learning because it's so easy and very easy to buy and get as well. So very simple, but it's very effective because you can learn a lot from it, of course.
Yeah, yeah. No, I really resonate with that because I just remember at school that was the first thing they plonked in our fingers, in our hands, and
Yeah.
and then that kind of, opened like a whole door to kind of, oh wow, like you can actually play tunes on this. So yeah, it sounds like that's a good starting point for most people. So where did you go actually from there?
So when I turned 11, there was an opportunity at school to learn another instrument. So I learned the clarinet. And then when I turned, I think it was like 14 or 16, I had the opportunity to learn the saxophone as well. So I actually taught myself how to play the saxophone at first. And then it was only when I went to university, I actually started having proper lessons on it.
Was there a reason of learning the saxophone in particular? You mentioned the clarinet. Was it a natural progression to kind of go on to the saxophone? Was there a reason for it, or you had a love for that instrument, or it just was just the next thing that you thought about doing?
Well, actually, my sister, she plays the trombone and she was in this jazz band that I really wanted to join, but they didn't have any clarinet players in the jazz band. So they actually had a tenor saxophone spot free. And the guy who was running this jazz band, he said to me, "Oh, do you play saxophone?" I said, "No, I don't." He said, "Oh, here's one that you can borrow, try and learn it, and then you can come and join the band." So basically, that's kind of what happened. Yeah, just teaching myself how to play it. And then I got to go straight into the deep end with playing in a jazz band, which was fun.
Wow, I love the fact that someone just says, "Hey, can you play this here? Have it and learn it." I mean, that's just like so cool. I mean,
Yeah.
thinking about kind of learning instruments and the direction that, you have gone in, which is sounds like a lot of self-taught. I mean, how does that impact on kind of your journey in life? How does music connect to kind of the direction that you have gone in and your thought processes into kind of moving forward in life?
I feel like so the flute is the one instrument that I completely self-taught right from the start, and it was very different to um the clarinet and the saxophone. And I actually started learning it over COVID. So I feel like it really helped give me some sort of goal, and obviously playing music that can kind of help reduce any side effects of depression, because obviously playing music can boost your mood by always you have like chemicals like dopamine and endorphins going through you when you're playing the music. So I feel like that really helped. Learning the flute really helped me get through a hard time over COVID. I know a lot of people were struggling with depression because they didn't really have any sort of goal or anything to work towards, and having the flute as something to work towards when I couldn't really go out and socialize with people that much, it gave me something to do. So it filled up my time, and I was learning a new skill. So obviously whenever I achieved something new on the flute, it was really rewarding, which was great.
Wow, that's really inspirational. I mean, so did you just wake up in the morning and started playing the flute all day, or like how like what was your relationship with the flute during COVID?
So I've always loved musical theatre, and I was at the time studying a undergraduate on the clarinet at university. Um, I found out that when you play musical theatre shows, you have to play more than one instrument at a time. And I didn't play the flute at that time. And that was one of the key instruments that you needed to know how to play. So I thought, I've got all this spare time, might as well start learning it now. Because if I keep putting it off like I had been, I'm just going to get nowhere. And obviously, we've got all this free time, might as well use it wisely, you know?
Absolutely. I think during well, looking back at COVID, we did pick up lots of different sports and or hobbies during that time that we perhaps otherwise wouldn't have. But it also sounds like you was already on this path of learning instruments. Is that correct? Would you say that the flute would possibly have been a natural progression for you?
Yes, I would say it was a natural progression. I feel like COVID just kind of helped me get into that next stage of learning it, because I actually was working really hard trying to get all of my assignments and all this uni work done, whilst also playing in different orchestras and doing all of this other stuff. And I felt like I didn't have enough time to learn the instrument, but COVID gave me that extra time to focus on actually starting to learn it. And it's brought quite a lot actually into my life. Like I started going to this community band that's near me that my father also goes to. So it's been a nice bonding experience between him and myself. And then also I've met quite a lot of different people at this community band, because it's one of the bands that I play at that isn't filled with professional musicians. So you get to meet a lot of different people, and I've made quite a lot of friends there as well, which is lovely. So yeah.
That's really interesting. You touched on quite a few points there. You spoke about kind of how you were studying at the time and how music kind of helped you during that time. And, I mean, does it kind of give you that space to kind of sort of, is it like maybe wind down? Is that how you view music as well? Is it a safe space for you, even when other things are going on in your life, like your studies or, maybe other challenges that you're facing? Do you find that playing an instrument, whatever, which one, because you play so many, um, do you find that it kind of just gives you that safe space?
Yeah, I feel like it's you could relate playing an instrument and practicing the instrument to kind of meditation in a way, because you're fully focusing on one task, and that gets you in like a state of flow, um where you're really only thinking about what you're playing and your breathing as well, and it can be quite therapeutic, which is really nice. And I am someone who overthinks quite a lot, so I've got autism, and one of those traits of autism is that you just have your head in just multiple places at once, basically. And just playing my music and focusing on even just very mundane tasks like playing scales, which are very technical and there's only kind of one right way to do it. It can really help put my mind into a much better focused space, and I can really get tasks done, and it does actually help my other things in life as well. So once I've done the practice, I feel like obviously I've achieved a goal, that's great, but I've had that really good focused practice, and that that time frame, like the 1 or 2 hours I'm practicing for, I've been completely focused, and it kind of clears your mind of any stress, of any worries that you may have. And yeah, you just end up feeling much freer, and you can do other tasks without all of these other worries as well, which is great.
Mm. I mean, without music, how would that, what was your experience kind of handling your stresses? You mentioned that you have autism. I mean, how do you feel that if you didn't have music, or if you could give us an example of what life was like without that?
After I graduated, I started finding work, and I actually said yes to pretty much every opportunity that I got given for work. And this was music teaching. I took on so much work that I was working basically 7 days a week, and I was completely burnt out quite a lot. So with my autism, I can get burnt out much easier than other people. And I was working way too hard already, but I was just completely burning myself out doing this work. And it actually made me not be able to practice because I was so busy. And I noticed I was getting way more stressed than usual because I didn't have that sort of escape that I could go to. And yeah, it just made everything so bad that it got to a point that I just couldn't do a lot of the work anymore. And I had to sadly stop doing certain jobs because I needed that space for my brain to basically breathe in a way and actually think about things and give myself the chance to go back and play music. Because when I did have more free time, I was playing my music more, and it made me realize how much I missed playing it and the joy that I got from playing my instruments. Even if it was just by myself, it was so nice to go back to that when I'd been filling myself with just work, teaching, and doing lesson plans and all of this stuff, and even traveling, because you can't really play an instrument when you're driving a car, can you?
Yeah, it sounds like music has had such a huge impact on your life, that in directions that perhaps you hadn't even thought of.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, and kind of like what kind of sort of comes to mind is, I mean, would it be fair to say that music has almost saved your life to some extent? Would you even go as far as that?
Um, I don't know if it saved my life, but I feel like it's made my life have um more meaning and purpose, I guess. Because when I am doing like these performances and things, obviously people enjoy coming to the concerts, they enjoy coming to the shows. And I've even done some recitals where people are just watching me perform with the piano. And the comments that I get back and the positive comments on like the playing and the music really gives me some sort of joy. And it's quite nice because it's not just in for myself, this music is also for other people. It's also to make them feel happier. And I feel like I've kind of done my purpose in the world where I've just brought joy to other people, which is really heartwarming. Yeah.
That's amazing to be able to give something back by following something that kind of initially wasn't really, on a path that you kind of like set out to do. It all sort of just kind of came your way organically, it sounds like. And then to be in a position where you feel joy to give it back, that must be such an amazing feeling.
Oh, yeah, it's so nice because you don't really think about. I think when you're practicing, obviously by yourself quite a lot, um that's quite a high percentage of your instrument playing when you're a musician. And sometimes I feel like people forget about the whole social aspect of music. And having these experiences of they have made me realize that it's music is not just for me, it is for society as well. And it's so nice that I can give back something to the community that will benefit it as well, which is lovely. Yeah.
And you touched on kind of the bonding side of things. You mentioned it's kind of brought you and your father together. Perhaps, did you want to tell us a little bit more about that? What music has done in terms of your relationships, for example?
So When I started to get a bit more serious into music, my dad, my father, already played an instrument already. But when I started to work towards being a professional more, I feel like we kind of drifted a bit more further apart from each other because things that I was learning, he hadn't learned before. But when I started learning the flute, we had something in common. We had the music that we were playing in this band together, and we could discuss all the music and like even just like little gossip as well from the band, which was nice. And we travel there together as well. So it's like, it's not just us going to play music together. It's a nice bonding experience, even just the things like the journey to the rehearsals there and back. It's an opportunity for us to spend one-on-one time together, which is really nice. We can connect with each other more.
Absolutely. I often find, as we go on our journeys in life and, we go our separate ways in terms of, whether that be uni or work. And, we see less and less of our folks, like our parents. And if we're lucky, to find something that kind of enables us to kind of reconnect or have a common interest, I think that's really beautiful that you can then develop that, because what happens is your relationship then changes with your parents, I think, and you kind of, become kind of more friends. Is that kind of really what was happening with you and your dad, that the relationship almost shifts because you now have this other thing that brings you together and he's not just this parent and you're the child?
Oh yeah, I feel like I've got quite a unique relationship with my father because I don't think a lot of people, like the kids, I don't think they have a lot in common with their parents, especially when they get older. So it's nice that I'm starting to get something, develop a common interest with him. Yeah. So I feel like we understand each other a bit more now as well because of that, which is really great. Yeah.
That's really beautiful. I really, really understand like kind of exactly what you've said there, and that whole kind of generational thing kind of shifts, isn't it? When you sort of become older, and then suddenly your parents don't understand anything that you're you're on about, and so
Yeah.
it's nice to be able to reconnect in the way that you have done with your dad, and kind of that commonality is then a much more there's more togetherness there, and suddenly that gap is no longer there, at least when it comes to music and the direction that you were going in with your dad. So that sounds
Oh,
amazing.
yeah, yeah. I even like talking about that as well. Like me going to university, it wasn't a normal university like my father went to. It was a conservatoire. So a conservatoire is a university that's for people who are musicians, dancers, musical theatre performers. It's really a university where you focus on one of those three traits, performing traits, and you actually focus more on being a performer rather than being an academic. And a lot of universities, they push you towards the academic side. And my father, he did a degree in English. So he was a very extremely academic person, but had some sort of creativity there as well. But I was just full creativity and I didn't think about academics at all much, really. So when I was even just talking about the university experience, it was very different from what he had. So I feel like our interests kind of got shifted apart a bit more because of that. But when I started learning the flute and going to the same band as him, we started having that common ground again. Then we could reconnect a bit more, which was really nice.
I love that. I love the fact that you went down this road of focusing on your creativity, and you got that support, it sounds like, as well, to be able to fulfill that. And I think that's really, really lovely to hear. And it sounds like you had a positive experience as well.
Oh, yes, yes, I did. Thank you.
And so tell me now, what is life like for you now? What is your daily sort of life with music?
I would say most of my time is taken up now teaching the next generation how to play music, and it's not what I imagined myself doing when I first started university, but I'm really happy that it's gone in that direction because um, there are little bits that you'll find in the lesson where like the student, they realize they can actually play this note. They have like a eureka moment, or they realize how much fun they're having playing music with you. And it's just those little moments that make it so worthwhile, because I'm not just teaching a student how to play an instrument and learn a new skill. I'm making them notice new things in their life and experience them, giving them an experience to something that most kids sadly would never actually get. So it's such a really fulfilling experience and job that I can have. And I'm really proud of myself that I can give that to students. Yeah.
That sounds really, really inspiring. It sounds like you're really giving something to a young, is it young people you teach, or do you teach any age, or?
And so majority of my work is actually teaching students who are in primary school. So that's up until 10 years old. But I have a couple of older students who are in secondary. And then I actually have some adults as well, which is a very new experience, but very fulfilling in another dimension as well.
Definitely. I mean, it just sounds like you're giving people a journey, as opposed to just a music class and like these are the notes. This is what we're going to study. It sounds like
Mhm.
you really tap into the individual and what they want to learn. And I mean, I guess being able to do that, that takes real skill, because you can be quite robotic about it and just right, let's start here and this is what we're going to learn. But it sounds like you really tap into someone's personality and basically what it is that they want to learn and what they want to get out of it.
Oh, thank you. I do feel like a lot of society now that everyone kind of has to have like some sort of side hustle, sorry. So like if you have a hobby, say it's like you make some crafts or something, you have to sell these crafts that you make. But I feel like there's nothing wrong with just having a hobby. And I feel like a lot of people forget that with music. Because we have like these grades that you can achieve and like you can do all these other things, perform and stuff. Everyone wants to become a professional at music, but that's not, in the nicest possible way, that's not the right move for everyone. And I feel like you can get so much more out of music if you just appreciate it for what it is and work on your own journey and try and find what you want to get out of it. Not just a degree, not just a qualification, just even if it's just you want to join a band and then make new friends, that's perfectly fine. You can create your own route that you're going, and yeah, you can find your own joy in music, and that's the best thing about it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think being able to follow your passion, your interests first and foremost,
Oh yeah.
then you're most likely to become more successful at whatever it is you're trying to do. And if that's a musical instrument, having a love for it is kind of like the attitude, I guess, towards kind of just enjoying it more than anything.
Mm.
And just the difference between children and adults. Do they, who's worse?
Adults will ask a lot of questions. So, say if I'm teaching a flute to an adult compared to a child, the adult will ask, "Oh, why are these keys in certain places? Oh, why does this certain sound come out?" And then the kid just blows, and it's like, "Oh, okay, cool." But it does test me as well, because I sometimes when you learn an instrument, you don't really learn about all the ergonomics of it and the history of the instrument. But when I've been teaching adults, I've kind of had to um, really look back on this information and learn it myself. And it's quite nice because then I kind of learn about the instrument as well myself. So yeah, teaching me
Oh,
too.
yeah, yeah, no, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing such a wonderful insight into your journey, overcoming your challenges to some extent and how music has inspired you. We really appreciate kind of your wisdom and your information and your strength that you've shared with us today. And we hope that you'll come and see us again one day on this podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been really nice to talk about this. Thank you for inviting me.